away between the two cars right at the front. Chelio Alves in the Mini, not surprisingly, gets the pedal down first, makes a little break, and in the background, unfortunately, a number of cars coming together on the restart. There are at least 3 cars involved in that. There are going to be more. Oh dear, oh dear.
Red flag, race stop, because others unsighted, accelerating into the corner, come across a blocked circuit. There are more for this. Huge contact there as the Lotus piles in to the back of the Yaris of Lei Jun Bin. So we've got one upside down. The race has been stopped, understandably, and all of that, I'm afraid, was round about the 5th, 6th, 7th area. Look, there's enormous damage done to Kevin Lam's car, to the Mini of 96 Chen Kin Sang, and this is what, well, it already started by this stage as more piled in.
This is the collection, isn't it?
Yeah.
The inevitable collection.
But that was a massive hit.
It was.
I'm afraid your number 72 Peugeot's involved. Right, that's where it went wrong. So it was Chen Kin Sang who was too fast into the corner. Others followed his pace and got it wrong. And now, of course, the next wave have just got nowhere to go. And that was a massive hit for 32 of Lin Li up from the back of the grid, and she really copped for the biggest hit of all. And then there, jacking number 2 Yaris into the air, Lei Jun Bin's car being given a mighty whack. The Lotus has buried itself underneath. So, oh dear, more drama elsewhere around the lap.
Oh dear, oh dear.
And Rui Valent's car is one of them, and Chelio Diash's car is that. It is, the leader's car. So what has happened coming through Reservoir? 3 minis have got themselves together, one of which was the leader. So there is absolute mayhem.
Loman Fai's car as well, the number 7 car. It's, yes, it's not been a good restart, has it? And unfortunately, with a red flag coming out, there are a lot of rather damaged cars after that big incident here at Macau.
I'm trying to work out how Chelio Diash got in strife, because he led, he was away.
Yeah.
And it suggests that he had his own moment then on cold tyres or cooler tyres and came back into the path of the others. So depending on what happens next.
We've yet to see that.
Yeah. Not many have survived all of that, but no. I'm looking for Sabino, or sorry, Matthias Lei's car as well, because that I think did get through. So the leading Mini in strife, the second place car got through seemingly. 3rd and 5th got involved then, Luman Fai and then Rui Valent. So here is, all right, Chelio Diaz loses it. Cool tyres, the Fiesta gets the lead, does it? So the Mini bounces across the road. Which way does the Fiesta go? Just jinks around. Luman Fai's got nowhere to go, and Rui Valent has his own incident in avoidance. Crikey.
And you're right, it rather looks like all on his own for the race leader, and the cold tyres on the restart, and all of a sudden the whole complexion of the race rather changes. A rather over-dramatic restart for the race, and immediately all of the workers go to assist the drivers and the cars, and there are a number of cars to be recovered.
Well, 2 separate incidents. The first one really triggered by Chen Kin Sang that caused the carnage coming out of the R bend, because he accelerated, and a bit like actually what you'd seen for Chelio Diash, he accelerated, but the tyre temperatures and pressures weren't there, lost adhesion, ran wide, hit the wall. Kevin Lam, who was going with him, got involved, and as they bounced across the road, so mayhem broke out, and there the drivers being attended to by the medical team, because there was a real number of hard hits in that, cars coming to a sudden stop. So it will take quite a while to clear the circuit before we are able to get things underway, and the race I don't think is going to be restarted. We're told that the next session is going to be delayed by 15 minutes, and indeed the session will not be resumed. The cars being dispatched back to the paddock, and you can understand why there's going to be a delay, because where do you start in clearing all this up? Kevin Lam's green Chevrolet looks destroyed, doesn't it?
A few cars look to be destroyed, unfortunately. I'm really sorry to say.
And the marshals are hard at work. They've got to remove cars, they've got to soak up liquid, and drivers largely out of cars, but 1 or 2 just had nowhere to go and came to a halt with the track blocked. Others had nowhere to go and went piling in. It really was the luck of the draw as to which line you were on, but now the circuit being addressed, the cars will be retrieved as rapidly and as quickly and as safely as possible. And then there's this drama to sort out. Now, yesterday we had the first GT Cup race, which had a red flag. It had the driver in second place involved in the incident that caused the stoppage. Now, under the regulations for certain races at Macau, if you are the cause of a red flag, you don't go in the result, but at the steward's discretion, you can be put back in. Well, where do you start with that, putting
right.
people in or out of the result? Because which incident caused your red flag? For my money, it was the one coming out of the R bend,
yes.
because the red flags were being shown actually as Chelio Diaz was having his
yes.
own moment.
Yep.
So he necessarily wasn't the cause of it. However, which driver do you cite
yes.
in the incident down at the R bend? I think the easiest thing is just to keep everybody in and wish them well, because they've suffered enough in terms of damage already, haven't they?
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. That's a difficult question for race control, for stewards as well, and there is a lot of work to do for the rescue teams, all doing a fabulous job as ever they do here at Macau. The rest of the cars have made their way into pit lane, the number 12 car being pushed back, and we have to try and look for any of the positive stories. One of the cars that was involved and facing the wrong way at the front of that really rather large incident was the number 46 car that at the start of the race had a little bit of potentially bad luck. Well, that car did manage to escape and get going again, so the 46 car was one of the cars that escaped and got going. Unfortunately, there were far too many that didn't get going, and with 2 incidents out on circuit and a 15-minute delay to the start of our next race, which is again one of the races for local drivers, but instead of touring cars, we're about to turn our attention to GT cars in a little while. It will be for the MGM Greater Bay Area GT Cup, largely for GT4 cars.
The Yaris there just craned away rather ignominiously, but that car of Lei Junbin being put behind the barriers on the grass. Is it coincidence that the 2 cars that triggered incidents were both minis? Or is there something about minis and the way they use their tyres that, or the drivers maybe even, under the safety car conditions, weren't doing what they should have done to keep tyre temps and pressures up? It might just be a coincidence.
Well, the erstwhile race leader, Chelio Diaz, was making the most of every single opportunity to weave the car and try and keep as much heat in the tyres as possible. It's difficult to work out, but certainly the car was all on its own, wasn't it? And quite a few of the drivers having conversations with each other down in pit lane, having got back to pit lane with that completely blocked circuit. It's the widest point of the track. There are 2 lanes going each way when these are the normal roads of Macau, and the whole thing completely blocked.
So look, there's Chen Kin-sang. He gets it wrong. Kevin Lam hits the barrier. Then the Peugeot piles in of Lam Hongfei. Others are just fortunate enough to find a gap left or right, but then from the back of the grid, Lin Lee gives Kevin Lam's car a mighty whack. The Yaris goes in. Now, wait, the red flags are out. And here's the Lotus that has nowhere to go except underneath the Yaris, jacks the car into the air. Some drivers, of course, were accelerating. Others were responding to the red flags as they saw them. But in a way, it was pot luck. You just got a gap or you didn't. But some big, big hits. Look, the Yaris goes in. Actually, number 2 there, not that damaged. Wait for it. Bang! That is a huge hit. And the number of impacts that Kevin Lam's Chevrolet had is quite severe. There is the leader throwing away what was the advantage, and wait for the red flags to come out. Look, he's halfway through the incident. There are the reds. We're not done yet, because bang, in goes number 7 Mini of Lo Man Fai, and Rui Vallant having his own dramas. Again, look, cold tyres. Nobody touched him. He lost that. Coincidental or not, but the Minis seem to be the ones that triggered all of those little dramas.
And a huge plus for the driver of number 5, the Ford Fiesta that was in second place, Sabino Lay, I think almost came to a complete stop whilst working out which way am I going to go to avoid the accident that's happening in front of me. That was very careful planning for the new race leader, essentially, because the car got through, it didn't collect the car, so there is much work to do.
Well, that I think is Rio Valente, isn't it? Who is very emotional about a broken car and the chances of a podium result that have gone away from him. So Rio Valente, very, very upset indeed. The race, as we say, not being restarted, and an instant red flag thrown by the officials. I mean, that accident was mounting even after the red flag.
Well,
they weren't hanging about.
The accident was still happening once the red flag had come out. Yeah. So
others were still accelerating, piling in, but there was no argument from the race officials to throw the reds.
It was instant, and they are hugely experienced, the team in race control. They know the kind of incident they can work around, and they know the kind of incident that they really can't, and potentially what could happen in the ensuing couple of moments. So the word coming from race control that the red flag would come out, and then an incident for the race leaders as well, which is so unpredictable, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we thought we'd seen all the drama piling up in front of us, and then suddenly the man that had dominated the race,
more drama, going
no further. Right, there's Chen Kin Sang's Mini just being loaded up. Look at the front of the Lotus as well there, that charged into the rear of Lei Junbin's Mini. That's the car of Chan Chi Ho, the Macau driver, number 83, the remnants of the red Lotus.
Unfortunately, the Lotus is the right shape to sort of wedge underneath the car, isn't it? And it's just the inevitable, unfortunate wrong time, wrong place, and wrong car.
Well, drivers are okay, a bit bruised and battered, but largely okay. Walking back, forcing a smile, which is good to see. And the other part of the incident from turn 1 is also being attended to. It's a good job it's not being restarted, because it wouldn't have many takers, I don't think, now.
No, and we started with a very, very healthy grid indeed. We had 15 rows of cars, which was such credit to the teams and to the drivers to put the deals together, to get the cars together. It's a big event. It's a difficult times that we're experiencing in the world in 2020 and 2021. Despite all of that, to get everything right and in the right place, to get a healthy grid like that was incredibly impressive. So it's so sad to see so many damaged cars on the restart of that race, and still a few cars need to be recovered. There's at least 7, I think, down there.
Yeah, I mean, one needs righting, doesn't it? Lin Lee's Honda needs to be put on its wheels, having turned turtle. Big, big hit. Kevin Lamb, I think, was probably understandably shaken, because I think I said a few minutes ago how many big hits that car had taken. Well, we know that these cars are built with safety in mind, but largely they are designed to take one big impact, not a series of them. And he suffered about 3 by my counting. So
that was pretty relentless.
Okay,
wasn't it?
It's very good news.
Yeah. Something you really can't predict, and as they are about to recover it's so delicate. They have to be so careful in the recovery of these vehicles.
The other element of all of that, Alan, is not only were people accelerating, but of course the nature of a street circuit with the barriers either side of you. It's a blind corner. You suddenly arrive.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you can look up the road and see anything, or look across a runoff area and, like you might be at a permanent circuit and see what's going on in the distance. They were absolutely astounded to see what was ahead of them. Some got it right by being able to jink left or right, and others just had nowhere to go.
And by and large, they wouldn't have had a chance to react, even if they'd have wanted to come round the corner, and all of a sudden the accident has happened. So
exactly.
It's a very, very difficult situation, and never good to see.
No. Well, the Honda being put on the low loader upside down.
Yeah, well,
so give that back to the team, and it can be up to them to sort it out. Some of the cars just being put behind the barriers so that the track can be cleared. Then they can send more recovery vehicles there to go and get them later on. Get the timetable moving. All the liquid being addressed.
Get a good idea
of Reservoir Bend.
Get a good idea as well of just how many marshals get involved in working on over the course of the Macau Grand Prix, and they are incredibly hard working and very, very well trained in exactly what they need to do for whatever incident they need to deal with. They get these incidents dealt with so very quickly. Very, very professional team.
On Friday morning, when we started talking about the free practice sessions that the timetable had, Alan made a point which has held true ever since, which is anything can happen at Macau. You weren't telling any fibs, were you?
And very often does. Yeah. It's the nature of the challenge of the circuit, and that's why drivers love the circuit, because it has every element. It's fast, it's narrow, it's twisty, it's up, it's down, and
it's unforgiving.
It bites.
It bites.
Yeah.
Now that's good news. Look, there are cars that are pushable, drivable, that may have dents and scrapes but aren't as wrecked as others. So some were able to anchor up in time and weren't clobbered. And the fleet of low loaders there and the circuit sweeper all being worked hard. I mean, the effort being put in here by the marshalling team is fantastic, because nobody is idle. Everybody is doing something. And look how quickly they've managed to sort out this situation of upturned cars, of cars on top of each other. It's fantastic to see.
The first time I was lucky enough to go to Macau, and the first major incident that I saw, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Marshals, exactly the right number of marshals all of a sudden appeared, and they all knew exactly what to do. They all had their job, and they were so quickly able to restore the circuit to something that was close to something they could race on. And it is incredible. The support for this event comes from so many different quarters, because it's such an important event. It's an important event for the region. It's an important event for motorsport in the region and in the world as well. And it's hugely popular with spectators and marshals alike. And they clearly have a huge amount of marshals all the way around. It's a 6-kilometre circuit. Think how many marshals you need in order to put this event on. It's incredibly impressive.
It's a bit like the Nordschleife in a sense, isn't
it?
It
is, yeah, it is.
The marshals there are so well drilled.
Yes.
That type of circuit. Bathurst, to a degree, is similar too. We are going to have a podium, and the timing screen still showing how they cross the line at the end of 7 laps. Now, of course, the accident that we're seeing the aftermath of here, and look at the dead car park, all of those cars didn't get to the timing line. So the number of cars that completed 7 laps is pretty limited. If you got through and you were in 5th place or back, you did very well to squeeze through the melee. But we will await confirmation of the podium. It should actually be unaffected, because Chelio Diaz, Sabino Osorio, Matthias Ley and Luan Fai were still running when the red flag came out. Granted,
yes.
2 of them were having an accident at the time, but they were moving and therefore stay in the results.
Yes, they were. Race control will be working out the drivers that we'll see on the podium in due course. The 88 car is underway.
Look at that, the road's virtually clear. I mean, I know there are recovery vehicles, but look, each wrecked competing car has been moved.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Fantastic. So the Mini in the background just being put onto the back of the recovery vehicle. And that then means that the track sweeper and the brooms go to work. Now, whether those other 4 cars are going to stay there all day, or whether they're going to be put onto other recovery vehicles, we'll have to wait and see. It might be that
I think
one gets moved between each race.
I think that's a holding position.
Yeah, you're right.
They needed them out the way so that they could get on, get the track clear, and then potentially those cars can be lifted back and go onto
Maybe so,
a recovery vehicle. Incredible work by the marshals.
Mighty impressive, isn't it? And another team of them here sorting out what's got to be done at the first corner of Reservoir Bend, which of course is a crucial part of that, because it's very, very fast, so you don't need anything liquid or debris there. Such a fast left-hander.